Joe Anderson and Al Clopine of Pure Financial Advisors have the answers to your retirement plan. This is Your Money, Your Wealth.
Well, it's a new day, it's a new year, and a new season for us here at Your Money, Your Wealth. Welcome, everybody. My name's Joe Anderson. I'm a certified financial planner and president of Pure Financial Advisors. And I'm, of course, with the big man. He's Big Al Clopine, the smartest man in the room. We're going to get to Big Al in just a second. We're going to talk about resolutions, New Year resolutions. And I would imagine your New Year's resolution is, you probably want to lose a little bit of weight, get a little healthier, and probably what about your finances? But we're a few months in, and I guarantee you probably got rid of that broccoli for what? Some potato chips, and that sports shake for maybe a Coors Light. But what about your finances? You can't let go of those. That is today's financial focus. Hey, check this out. If you look at the statistics of New Year's resolutions, 53%, they want to save a little bit more money. Are you saving money? Then they want to pay off some debt and then spending a little bit less. Hey, guess what? That really sounds like this show. We're talking about New Year's resolutions and getting you back on track if you fell off the truck. And to help me with that, let's bring in Big Al Clopine. Can you believe season 4 is upon us, my friend?
It seems like just yesterday we found out we have another season.
Yeah, I know. We were just waiting.
Yeah.
Just anticipation.
But New Year's resolutions here.
Resolutions.
Resolutions.
Or resolutions.
Revelations.
Whatever
word you want to use.
Yes.
All the above, right? How are yours coming?
No. Still rock solid, my friend. Still rock solid.
And I didn't even make any because I'm perfect already.
Well, I think the problem is you have to. You have to make New Year's resolutions. And the studies say if you at least make an attempt to make a New Year's resolutions, you're probably going to be more apt to accomplish those goals.
Yeah, in fact, Joe, it turns out you have 10 times more likelihood of meeting your resolutions if you actually make one, right? So that's the first thing you got to do. But so we'll get into resolutions on this show, and particularly as with regards to finances. I guess we're not going to talk about diet and health. We're going to talk about finances. And when you're talking about finances, saving for retirement, or any goal for that matter, you got to quantify that goal. How much do you need to save, and then how much, in total, and then how much do you need to save each month? So that's number one. And then number two is automate that savings plan. That's really the only way that we know to make this happen, because if you don't pay yourself first, you tend to spend the money and have nothing left to save. Of course, you got to track your expenses. That's part of the equation. If you have debt, well, let's take a look at that, figure out how to get that paid off as soon as you can. And then most importantly is have some kind of accountability, have some kind of plan to measure yourself by, and check it consistently. And Joe, that's a lot of people, they have the best intentions, but then a whole year passes and they haven't really checked their status.
Right. Hopefully that's not you.
I'm perfect already.
Holding accountability is by far one of the key components here. You want to make sure that you set a goal and be held accountable for it. Right? If you have all these great goals, it's like, and then no one's holding you accountable, or you're not holding yourself accountable, what's the likelihood of you accomplishing it? Another key component here, too, is that a lot of people have too many resolutions. You got to narrow this thing down to 1 to 3. Right? And finances is probably number one, so let's talk about that. First thing is you want to quantify the goal of what you're trying to accomplish when it comes to retirement, putting your kids through school, passing wealth, giving to charity, whatever it is. But let's get into retirement. What do you want to accomplish here? And trying to find out what that number is and how do you actually, look at this without getting overwhelmed.
Yeah, Joe, there's a couple methods. We're going to show you one if you're very near retirement to calculate your number, and it just simply has to do with what your goals are, what your income is. So take a look at this. Your retirement income, in this example, would be $50,000. That would be Social Security. That would be pension. Look at your spending. How much do you want to spend in retirement? In this example, about $70,000. So you're short. You're short about $20,000. So simply take that number, shortfall, multiply it by 25, and that will tell you approximately what you need to save to be able to have that kind of income in your lifestyle. And Joe, I think a lot of times when people do this calculation, they get very nervous that they have a shortfall. But there's nothing wrong with that. That's why you save money.
Right. I mean, that's why we have 401k plans, IRAs, Roth
Right.
IRAs, savings, and so on. And this is key. If you do this, I'm telling you, you're probably 95% ahead of the game. Look at what you're trying to accomplish in regards to spending. In this example, hey, you want to spend $70,000. Then do a little bit of homework. How much do you think you're going to receive in Social Security? Do you have a pension? Do you have real estate income? Are you going to work part-time? Whatever that is, and find that shortfall, multiply it by 25, and then that gives you this number. In this case, it was $500,000. That's if you're looking at retiring here shortly. But let's take a look if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, or 50s. What is the game plan here? This is really cool. I think this helps people and also maybe might motivate you to take action a little bit more. Is that, let's say if you're 30 years old, you want to have at least 1 times your salary saved. So if you're making $50,000 a year, you want to make sure that you have 50 grand in the bank. Let's jump up to 45. You want to have 4 times your annual income saved. Once you get into your 60s, right, that's 8 times, Al. That's a huge number. And, you know, procrastination is probably one of the key components of why people are not necessarily successful. But at least this puts you in that. I mean, one of the biggest questions Al and I get is that, all right, well, am I on track? How do I compare to other people that you see? Well, this is a good idea to take a look at. All right, well, how much money are you making? Multiply by those factors, and then that's going to get you in the ballpark, right? Because I think a lot of times it's just simple arithmetic. How much money do I need to maintain the lifestyle that I want long term? Most of you don't have enough. We're not here to put fear in you. We want to make sure that you're responsible to look at, hey, how much do I need to give you the confidence to do all the things that you want to do in retirement?
Hey, Joe, why don't we do kind of a simple example of, let's say, some different ages. You know, perhaps you're age 40 or 50 or 60. Let's say you have $50,000 saved. Let's say you want to reach that $500,000 savings goal. Well, how much do you need to save per month to be able to do that? In this slide, it's showing you $179 per month if you're 40. Look what happens if you're in your 50s, $862 per month. And if you're 60, you got to fast track this. That's $3,875 per month. That's, of course, at a 7% rate of return, and assuming that you retire at age 67.
Just $4,000 a month, huh?
Yeah, no problem, right?
Yeah.
But Joe, that does show. It shows why you want to start as early as possible when you're saving.
Yeah, but this is what happens every time we do this, bud, is that, all right, well, here, I don't have $4,000. I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball when it comes to retirement. I'm 60, and I get this sense of helplessness. It's never going to happen. I'm going to work until I drop, whatever. No, don't think that way. Because let's say if you don't have a dime saved, all right, and you want to, let's say you're 60 years old, you're going to work another 10 years. If you can max out your 401k plan, get that 7% annual return over the next 10 years, right? Now, of course, these are just assumptions. You got $350,000 approximately. Now you're in the ballpark, right? Now your Social Security has pushed out. You'll receive a higher benefit there. Now you have a nest egg. And then, you know, sadly, then your life expectancy got a little bit shorter too. So your money doesn't necessarily have to last that much longer, right?
But that's really important. And when you think about, so $350,000 or so, that actually puts you ahead of the game of most. In fact, we know that what the stats are now, according to Fidelity, for those that have 401k plans, 403b plans, they have about $60,000 to $80,000 in those. And if you take the average of everybody with and without the 401k plans, it's only about $10,000. So if you've got about $350,000, you're way ahead of the game. You've got some options in retirement. You're going to be able to live some of those dreams that you want to live.
All right. We're just getting started, folks. Hopefully we're getting you motivated to take action of your financial future. When we get back, we're going to bust out some more fun financial facts and talk some financial planning. So don't go anywhere. Good morning, everyone. Show's called Your Money, Your Wealth. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back. Show's called Your Money, Your Wealth. Joe Anderson, Big Al, hanging out. Talking about resolutions. How are you doing with your New Year's resolutions? We're going to get into a few different topics in a little bit. But before we do that, let's see how you did on the true false.
If you wait until age 70 to claim your Social Security benefits, you will receive on average 75% more money than if you begin your distributions at age 62. Interesting question, Joe. That's true, isn't it?
That's a big jump.
It is a big jump.
I mean, if people looked at those numbers, I would imagine they might want to push that Social Security out. But still, what's the statistics, Al? About 70% of people still claim their benefits as soon as they could get them?
Yeah, that is true, Joe. And it just here's some basic numbers. Like at full retirement age, which right now is 66 and 2 months. If you're supposed to receive about $2,000, if you take it about 62, which is the first you can, it's probably closer to $1,500. If you wait till age 70, it's close to $2,700 that you get. So it really does help to pay to wait, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Now, this is the point in our show where it's called Countdown to Retirement. We have a question that an individual has asked Mr. Joe Anderson. Joe Anderson has 60 seconds to answer the question, and he has not even seen it yet. So let's see how he does.
Well, good morning, Al and Joe. I have a question for you. Is this a good time to buy gold coins, or bullion? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, we got 59 more seconds.
Well, yeah, I think you want to have commodities in your portfolio. Of course you do, right? And I think there's a lot of anxiety of what's going to happen with the market. We're in a new year. We have a new administration. And when it comes to fear, it's like people will go to gold. Yes, I believe gold should be a part of your portfolio, but gold doesn't necessarily grow. It's more of a speculation. Because if you look at a company stock, right, they build and they grow, they produce dividends, and their company builds. Gold, right, it doesn't have baby gold nuggets. It's just a nugget. It doesn't necessarily grow. So it's a speculation play to see, hey, who's willing to buy it at whatever time. So yes, is it an inflation hedge? Of course it is, but it's a very volatile inflation hedge. So yeah, have some gold, but don't bet everything on it. So short answer is no. Long answer is you just heard it. So there you go. That's what I have. What do you think?
Well, Joe, that's pretty good. I mean, so is that right? There's no baby gold.
There's no baby gold nuggets.
Gold bugs. That
you know
comes out
how
of the
baby
gold?
gold nuggets are made, right?
Yeah, I don't.
You got to dig them up.
Okay.
If a baby gold, right?
They don't just show up,
They
right?
just don't show up. Like the gold does not necessarily grow.
All right. Well, back on topic. Let's get back into New Year's resolutions. And we talked about setting a savings goal, breaking that down to what that monthly savings goal needs to be able to get to your bigger goal, how much to save in retirement. Now, here's a big one, which is once you figure out that goal, pay yourself first. And that just simply means make this automatic. Use your company retirement plan if you have one, a 401k, a 403b, etc. If you don't have a company pension plan or 401k, 403b, then go ahead and set up your own IRA or Roth IRA. Do a direct transfer. Now, direct transfer simply means you're going to have to call up your bank, you're going to have to set up a brokerage account, but have that money come from your bank account, Joe, have it each and every month before you even start spending money on your own bills. That's the pay yourself first concept.
If you get anything out of this show, this is it. Pay yourself first. The most successful people, the most wealthiest people figure this out. Pay yourself first, because if you pay yourself last, guess what? You're not going to pay yourself. Make sure when you get that paycheck, put it in your 401k plan, put it into an IRA, put it in a money market account, put it into a Roth. Pay yourself first and spend everything else. That's all you got to do. Pay yourself first, spend everything else. It's that easy. But most people don't do it. And then when you invest it, Al, what? You got to invest for the long term.
Well, you do, Joe, and particularly it depends how close you are to retirement. But assuming you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, even early 60s, and you're going to work 10 more years, have higher allocations to stocks over bonds. Why? Because stocks outperform bonds generally over the longer term. Now, take a look at funds. They have more diversification than individual stocks. Instead of buying just Google and Apple, buy a fund that has 500 stocks in it for diversification. And then look to index funds or ETFs. They tend to have lower costs than active mutual funds. those three things, it's pretty basic. But
Right.
a lot of people don't follow those three basic things.
It's just back to controlling what you can control, right? You can control your risk, how much money that you have in stocks versus bonds. You can control your taxes, which we usually talk about on the show. And then, of course, reduce your cost, right? So if you can kind of start looking at this and say, I'm going to pay myself first. I'm going to control the things that I can control. Now you're starting to get on track. And then you get that motivation, and then all of a sudden that builds confidence, and then you are going to be successful. Man, I feel like Tony Robbins for some reason.
Yeah, you look a little bit like him, too.
Just getting people fired up to save money.
Yeah. Well, let's also, what about spending less, Joe?
Yeah, spend less, please.
That's the other side of this
there you go.
equation. And when you're spending less, the best way that we know how to do that is to track actually what you are spending. So avoid using cash. Use your debit card, use your credit card so that you can see what you're spending money on. Commit to maybe a 3-month period, because not every expense comes up every month. But if you do this for 3 months, you'll have a pretty good sense of what you're spending. And then there's different ways to track it. Some people like to use Quicken or Mint. Other people like to use Excel and just kind of do it the old-fashioned way, or even more old-fashioned than that, Joe, is pencil and paper. There's nothing wrong with pencil and paper. That works just fine. But track your expenses. Why? Because then you know where you're spending your money, and you can probably see where you can start doing a little bit of cutting.
Well, you know, it's funny. Why avoid cash? Because you're not tracking it?
Because you can't track it.
So
yeah, so if you have 1,000...
I would much rather pay cash and put it on my credit card, or you
Right.
saying put it on my credit card so I can track it, then make sure I pay off the credit card every month?
Yes, I'd actually prefer to use a debit card, to be honest. But some people use credit cards. They get points, they get travel miles. As long as you pay off that credit card, that's
Yeah,
important.
I suppose what you forget about the late night trips to the ATM.
Yeah, right.
Right. So, and then when you think about debt, right? Let's just take a look at credit card debt, right? There's a lot of individuals on every range of net worth that has credit card debt. Unfortunately, this is a pretty sad statistic, is that this is the highest amount, and then those are the individuals that have, negative to a zero net worth because of the debt.
Yeah, $10,000 of credit card debt, and they don't have any assets.
So, I guess all of this, if I want to be John Madden here for a sec, is bad. Just get rid of it.
No, you go like that. Just keep going.
Just try to get rid of it. You look at this consumer debt. If you want to use a credit card, just make sure that you pay that credit card off every single month. It's once you get into this debt ball, right? It's really difficult to get out of it, because here's what happens: is that, all right, well, here I'm going to throw all this cash at the debt. Get rid of the debt. Get rid of the debt, and then you forget about your cash reserves, right? And then all of a sudden, guess what? The car breaks down. Right? And then it's like, oh, I got more debt. So you got to be careful on how you do the snowball effect of getting rid of your credit card debt. You have to be smart about it. You don't want to make sure that you ignore your cash reserves. You don't want to ignore your long-term savings and everything else in between. So that's why having a strategy and a plan is so important. Understanding the cash flow that's coming in and making sure that you're utilizing every dollar appropriately to make sure that, A, you get out of debt, that you have that cash reserves in case something bad happens again, so you don't fall back into debt, and then focus on the long term when it comes to your long-term goals. So, hey, we got to take another short break. When we get back, we're going to flip the show back to you and answer your email questions. So we'll see how that happens, all right? Hopefully, we got some good ones today. We'll be back in just a second. The show's called Your Money, Your Wealth. Hey, welcome back to the show. The show's called Your Money, Your Wealth. Joe Anderson and Big Al Clopine hanging out, talking about resolutions. Tracy Chapman sang a song called Resolutions. Anyway, let's go to the true false. We're going to turn the show back to you, get your email questions, and kind of wrap this thing up and put it in a nice bow. But before we do that, let's see how you did on the true false.
You can roll an inherited Roth IRA from your parents into your personal Roth IRA after your parents pass away. That's a great true or false question. The answer is absolutely false. Joe, why is that?
Here's the deal. When it comes to IRAs and when you pass away, so let's say if you are watching this program and you have a large IRA and that you someday want it to go to your children, or that you're expecting an inheritance from you, that IRA needs to stay in the deceased's name. All right, so if I were to pass away, it would say Joe Anderson deceased on whatever date that I died for the benefit of beneficiary, junior, let's say. It has to stay that way. It's a beneficial IRA, beneficiary IRA, a stretch IRA, whatever that you want to call it, because the IRS wants to recycle that money. For instance, let's say I have $1 million in my Roth IRA, I pass away, it goes to my 5-year-old, all right? So then now this 5-year-old has a Roth IRA that will continue to grow tax-free for his or her life, right? The IRS says, no way, no how, we cannot do that. It has to have a required distribution. So that's why the titling of these accounts get very, very tricky. The IRS understands that there's $24 trillion sitting in retirement accounts, and they want some of that money. So when you pass away, just be very careful. Make sure that you understand the rules when it comes to titling the retirement account, or your professionals understand, or your children understand that. Because what Al and I have seen many, many times is that with any other asset, you can just put it in your name. But with the retirement account, it has to stay in the deceased name. We've seen millions of dollars blow up in the family just because they didn't understand this simple fact. You cannot roll it into your own. So just be very, very careful. If you have a large IRA, I would highly consult a professional advisor to make sure that you understand the rules and regulations when it comes to this. Al, let's kind of put a bow on the topic for today.
Yes, Joe, we've been talking about retirement resolutions since it's, we're a couple months into the year. And one of the things that you need to do after you figure out what your goals are, right, your spending, your savings, your debt payback plan, is set up a financial plan so you can track this. So let's go over the elements, kind of in summary. Start with your retirement savings goal, figure out how much you need to save for retirement, and then break that down into a monthly savings goal. Figure out your monthly spending limits. Take a look at what you're spending money on. See if there's ways to spend a little bit less so you can save a little bit more. If you do have credit card debt or other types of debt, you may want to look at a debt repayment plan. Credit card debt in particular tends to be very high interest rate. So take a look at figuring out how to get that paid off as soon as possible. And here's probably, Joe, the most important thing, which is check your progress regularly. And I would honestly say, if you're new to this, maybe you check your progress each month or each quarter. After you get the hang of it, maybe once a year, but make sure you're constantly checking your progress, because otherwise you never know how you're doing. We've seen people have a great plan, 10 years pass, they don't do anything, and they're no further close to their goals.
Right, it's execution. You might have a great strategy, but you have to execute the strategy to become successful. It's like, hey, I'm on a diet, but I'm never ever gonna weigh myself, and guess what? My pants feel a little bit more tight than loose. So you probably need to check what you're doing to make sure that you get back on track. All right, it's a favorite time of the show. Let's go to your email questions. What do we got up first here?
This is Lucy from El Cajon. She says, our 24-year-old college-educated daughter still lives at home. Is it a better financial decision to use the rent that we charge her, I like that they charge her, to pay off her school loans, or put it in a retirement account for my husband and me? Wow, that's an interesting question. So I guess first of all, her student loan is actually her student loan, so you could actually have her pay it. But I know what
that's so odd.
I know what a lot of parents say though. It's like the loan is in their kid's name, but they promised to pay it because that was kind of their commitment to the child. So if that's your commitment, so then I guess the question is, should you pay off this loan, or should you put the money into the IRA or Roth IRA? You can't fund both of them. So what do you think, Joe?
Oh, nice setup. Nice setup. Well, that's so odd, right? So Lucy's got a daughter that graduated, and then so she decided to move back home, all right? And then she's paying rent to live at home. And so the parents are taking that money and are curious, well, what the heck do we do with it? Well, we need a little bit more information here, but yeah, you want to don't, I guess, jeopardize your own retirement, all right? Don't jeopardize your own retirement. Take a look, again, at a cash flow strategy to make sure that you understand how much that you need to be saving for your own retirement. Pay yourself first. Then take a look at what is the debt structure of the student loan, what's the interest rate, and then how do you accelerate the payments on that? So I think you just don't want to go all bore on one or the other. I think you have to take a look at both. Now, if it's her loan, she should pay it. Kick her out of the house. She's already paying rent, right? She's got to grow up at some point. She graduated. So
wow, that's tough, Joe.
Yeah, tough love.
Imagine when you're going to be a parent, how tough it's going to be.
It's going to be great.
Well, let's take a look at email question number 2. This is from Phil, Rancho Santa Fe. My home is my primary investment for retirement. Since interest rates are still low is it a good idea for me to take an equity loan out on my home and invest the money? Phil, we do get this question from time to time. I would say absolutely not.
No.
You know, when it comes to the market, you never know. It's going to go up, it's going to go down. Your home is your home, particularly in San Diego, Rancho Santa Fe. It's likely going to be a good long-term investment. I don't know. The people that have done that very often are sorry that they've done it.
I mean,
So
it's leverage.
I'm going to say no.
Right. I mean, how much more risk do you want to be taking here? So you're going to take home out of your primary residence, right? You're going to pay a mortgage on that, and then you're going to try to take it and speculate in the overall markets. I mean, I understand the arbitrage and say, well, interest rates are low. Maybe I'm paying 4% on my mortgage rate, but then hopefully I get 6% in the market. So that 2% differential, right? I'm using the bank's money to make a little bit of money. Sure, yeah, but the markets go the other way as well. 2008 was not that long ago, and a lot of people got burned really bad by using leverage. I would say absolutely not. I would not do that. I would not recommend that in a million years. Let's go to the last email question.
From Linda, Coronado, I'm almost 50 and I only have about $180,000 in retirement funds, which I would say is not bad, better than average. Should I pay off my credit cards, my car, fund my Roth IRA, 401k this year? I only have enough money to select one of them to fully fund. And Linda, I'm going to sort of piggyback on what Joe said. I think we need more information to help you, but you really want to look at all three. Now, one thing for you is a 401k generally has a match, so you may want to put money into the 401k at least to get a match from your employer, because that's like free money. But then again, a lot of credit card debt is very high interest rate, so you want to look at that closely. Car loans are usually a little bit cheaper. IRA, Roth IRA, if you can get to that, great, but I would probably personally favor the 401k and the credit cards first. But you kind of have to look at your overall situation to get the absolute best answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a recurring theme here, isn't it, a little bit? It's you have to get a strategy in place. I think this is very common for most of you that are watching this program right now, is that I'm spinning a lot of plates here, and I'm really not sure which one to focus on, because if I focus on this one's going to break. Unfortunately, you kind of got to spin all of them. You don't want to have that narrow focus and forget about something else, because the time value of money is key. The sooner you start saving, the less you have to save to have that nest egg at the end of the day. So hopefully that helps. Please join us next week, because we have another phenomenal show. I have no idea what we're going to be talking about, but it's going to be fantastic. I can guarantee you that, hopefully. For Big Al Clopine, I'm Joe Anderson. Good morning, everyone. You just watched another great episode of Your Money, Your Wealth.